Nothing, I'm just starting my reading setup. I love you. Yeah. 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
We sure we don't want to just accept that we're 45 people now?
I'm not sure. We'll do the time with you.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Let's see. Sat in those 3 chairs were 3 men, though hard to recognize as men till you looked closely. Their hair, which was gray, had grown over their eyes till it almost concealed their faces, and their beards had grown over the table, climbing round and entwining plates and goblets and brambles entwined as a fence, until, all mixed in one great mat of hair, they flowed over the edge and down to the floor, and from their heads their hair hung over the backs of their chairs so that they were wholly hidden. In fact, the 3 men were nearly all hair. Dead, said Caspian. I think not, sire, said Reepicheep, lifting one of their hands out of this tangle of hair. It is 2 paws. This one is warm and has a pulse beats. And his pulse beats. This one, too. And this, said Drinian. Why, they're only asleep, said Eustace. It's been a long sleep, though, said Edmund, to let their hair grow like this. It must be an enchanted sleep, said Lucy. I felt the moment we landed on this island that it was full of magic. Oh, do you think we have perhaps come here to break it? We can try, said Caspian, and began shaking the nearest of the 3 sleepers. For a moment, everyone thought he was going to be successful, but the man breathed hard and muttered, I'll go eastward no more. Out oars for Narnia. But he sank back almost at once into a yet deeper sleep than before. That is, his heavy head sagged a few inches lower toward the table, and all efforts to rouse him again were useless. With the second, it was much the same. Weren't born to live like animals. Get to the east while you have a chance, lads. Behind the sun. And sank down. And the third only said, Mustard, please, and slept hard. Our oars for Narnia, eh? Said Drinian. Yes, said Caspian. You are right, Drinian. I think our quest is at its end. Let's look at their rings. Yes, these are their devices. This is the Lord Revelian. This is the Lord Argos. And this is the Lord Mavramorn. But we can't wake them, said Lucy. What are we to do? Begging your majesty's pardons all, said Rince. But why not fall to while you're discussing it? I don't know what the fuck C.S. Lewis is saying there, but I'm definitely reading it right. We don't see a dinner like this every day. Not for your life, said Caspian. That's right, said several sailors. Too much magic about here. The sooner we're back on board, the better. Depend on it, said Reepicheep. It was from eating this food that these 3 lords came by a 7 years' sleep. I wouldn't much touch it to save my life, said Drinian. The light's going uncommon quick, said Rhinoff. Back to ship, muttered the men. I really think, said Edmund, they're right. We can decide what to do with the 3 sleepers tomorrow. We daren't eat the food, and there's no point in staying here for the night. The whole place smells of magic and danger. I am entirely of King Edmund's opinion, said Reepicheep, as far as concerns the ship's company in general. But I myself will sit at this table till sunrise. Why on earth, said Eustace. Because, said the mouse, this is a very great adventure, and no danger seems to me so great as that of knowing, when I get back to Narnia, that I left a mystery behind me through fear. I'll stay with you, said Redmond. And I too, said Caspian. And me, said Lucy. And then Eustace volunteered also. This was very brave of him, because never having read such things or even heard of them till joining the John Treader made it worse for him than the others. I beseech your majesty, began Drinian. No, my lord, said Caspian. Your place is with the ship, and you have had a day's work while we 5 have idled. There was a lot of argument about this, but in the end, Caspian had his way. As the crew marched off to the shore in the gathering dusk, none of the 5 watchers, except perhaps Reepicheep, could avoid a cold feeling in the stomach. They took some time choosing their seats at the perilous table, Probably everyone had the same reason, but no one said it out loud, for it was really a rather nasty choice. One could hardly bear to sit all night next to those three terrible hairy objects which, if not dead, were certainly not alive in the ordinary sense. On the other hand, it's to sit at the far end so that you would see them less and less as the night grew darker and wouldn't know if they were moving and perhaps wouldn't see them at all by about 2 o'clock. No, it was not to be thought of. So they sauntered round and round the table, saying, "What about here? Or perhaps a bit further on? Or why not on this side?" Till at last they settled down somewhere about the middle, but nearer to the sleepers than to the other end. It was about 10 by now, and almost dark. Those strange new constellations buried in the east. Lucy would have liked it better if they had been the leopard and the ship, and all their old friends of the Narnian sky. They wrapped themselves in their sea cloaks and sat still and waited. At first there was some attempt at talk, but it didn't come to much. And they sat, and all the time they heard the waves breaking on the beach. After hours they seemed like ages. There came a moment when they all knew they had been dozing a moment before, but were all suddenly wide awake. The stars were all in quite different positions from those they had last noticed. The sky was very black, except for the faintest possible grayness in the east. They were cold, though thirsty and stiff, and none of them spoke because now at last something was happening. Before them, beyond the pillars, there was a slope of a low hill, and now a door opened on the hillside. A light appeared in the doorway, and a figure came out, and the door shuttered behind it. The figure carried a light, and this light was really all that they could see distinctly. It came slowly nearer and nearer, till at last it stood right on the table opposite of them. Now they could see that it was a tall girl, dressed in a single long garment of clear blue, which left her arms bare. She was bareheaded, and her yellow hair hung down her back. So how was she both bareheaded and has long yellow hair? I don't know. And when they looked at her, they thought they had never before known what beauty meant. The light which she had been carrying was a tall candle and a silver candlestick, which she now set upon the table. If there had been any wind off the sea earlier at night, it must have been died down by now, for the flames of the candle burned as straight as still as if there was a room with a window shut and the curtains drawn. Gold and silver on the table shone in its light. Lucy now noticed something lying lengthwise on the table, which had escaped her attention before. It was a knife of stone, sharp as steel, a cruel, ancient-looking thing. No one had yet spoken a word. Then, Reepicheep first, and Caspian next. They all rose to their feet, because they felt that she was a great lady. "Travelers who have come from far to Aslan's table," said the girl. "Why do you not eat and drink?" "Madam," said Caspian, "we feared the food because we thought it had cast our friends into an enchanted sleep." "They have never tasted it," she said. "Please," said Lucy, "what happened to them?" 7 years ago," said the girl. "They came here in a ship whose sails were rags and her timbers ready to fall apart. There were a few others with them, sailors, and when they came to this table, one said, 'Here is a good place. Let us set sail and reef sail and row no longer, but sit down and end our days in peace.' And the second said, 'No, let us re-embark and sail for Narnia and the west. It may be that Miraz is dead.' But the third, who was a very masterful man, leaped up and said, 'No, by heaven, we are men and Telmarines, not brutes. What should we do but seek adventure after adventure? We have not long to live in any event. Let us spend what is left in seeking the unpeopled world behind the sunrise.' And as they quarreled, he caught up the knife and stone which lies on the table and would have fought with his comrades. But it is a thing not right for him to touch. And as his fingers closed upon the hilt, deep sleep fell upon all the three. Until the enchantment is undone, they will never wake." "What is this knife of stone?" asked Eustace. "Do none of you know it?" said the girl. I think," said Lucy, "I've seen something like it before. It was a knife like it that the White Witch used when she killed Aslan at the stone table long ago." "It was the same," said the girl, "and it was brought here to be kept in honor while the world lasts." Edmund, who had been looking more and more uncomfortable with the last few minutes, now spoke. "Look here," he said, "I hope I'm not a coward, and about eating this food, I mean, and I'm sure I don't mean to be rude, But we have had a lot of queer adventures on this voyage, and ours and things aren't always what they seem. When I look at your face, I can't help believing all you say, but then that's just what might happen with a witch, too. How are we to know you're a friend? You can't know, said the girl. You can only believe or not. After a moment's pause, Reepicheep's small voice was heard. Sire, he said to Caspian, if your courtesy fill up my cup with wine from that flagon, it is too big for me to lift. I will drink to the lady. Caspian obeyed, and the mouse, standing on the table, held up the golden cup between his tiny paws and said, Lady, I pledge you. Then he fell to a cold peacock. In a short while, everyone followed his example, all while very hungry, and the meal, if not quite what you wanted for a very early breakfast, was excellent as a very late supper. Why is it called Aslan's table? Asked Lucy presently. It is set here by his bidding, said the girl. For those who come so far, some call this island the world's end. For though you can sail further, this is the beginning of the end. But how does the food keep? Asked the practical Eustace. It is eaten and renewed every day, said the girl. This you will see. And what are we going to do about the sleepers? Asked Caspian. In the world from which my friends come, here he nodded at Eustace and the Pevensies, thereof a story of a prince or a king coming to a castle where all the people lay in enchanted sleep. In that story he could not dissolve the enchantment until he had kissed the princess. But here, said the girl, it is different. Here he cannot kiss the princess till he has dissolved the enchantment. Then, said Caspian, in the name of Aslan, show me how to set about the work at once. My father will teach you that, said the girl. Your father, said everyone. Who is he, and where? Look, said the girl, turning round and pointing to the door on the hillside. They could see him more easily now, for while they had been talking, the stars had grown fainter, and great gasps of white light were appearing in the grayness of the eastern sky. And that's the end of the chapter. And chapter 14 is called The Beginning of the End of the World.